October 22, 1970. Hong Kong, 8:11 in the evening. The rain has stopped 14 minutes earlier, but the city has not yet decided whether it is finished with it. The pavement outside the South China Athletic Association Hall still holds the specific black shine of fresh weather, and the warm night air coming in through the half-open side doors carries the smell of wet concrete, cigarette smoke, engine oil, and the salt that always seems to find its way in from Victoria Harbour after dark. Inside the hall, the heat has nowhere to go. It hangs beneath the industrial lights in a low, invisible layer, mixed with chalk dust, old canvas, damp cotton, and the particular metallic smell of a place where leather gloves have met human bone for many years without ceremony. 4 seconds from now, not one of the 79 people in this room will speak. That is the first fact. The second is that every one of them will know exactly why they are silent. Not because they are confused, because they understand. A heavyweight boxer is standing in the center of the ring, one glove lowered, the other not yet fully raised again, his breathing visible in the movement of his chest, his expression carrying the first stunned emptiness that appears when certainty breaks before the body that carried it has time to defend itself. Bruce Lee is 2 steps away, still, calm, unreadable. He is not celebrating. He does not look victorious. He looks as he looked before the moment happened, economically present, emotionally unwasted, carrying nothing that does not serve the second he is in. The crowd, which has spent the last 12 minutes leaning forward in the specific held-breath expectation of people waiting for confrontation, is now held in a silence so complete that the small electric hum of the overhead lamps seems louder than the 79 bodies beneath them. That is where the story begins. And to understand why the room becomes that quiet, you have to go back to the beginning of the evening, to the weather, to the heat, to the smell of wet coats and old rope, and to the exact moment a heavyweight champion asked a question he believed the room would answer for him. The South China Athletic Association Hall sits just off Caroline Hill Road, its exterior plain enough to disappear into the city after dark if you do not already know where to look. It is not a glamorous place, which is to say, it is a serious one. The building has the specific quality of institutions that have been used correctly for a long time. The stair rail is worn smooth where hands have found it for years. The floorboards outside the ring room complain softly under the weight of movement. The plaster near the high windows has been repainted twice in the last decade, and still carries faint lines beneath the newer coat. Nothing here is decorative. Everything here has endured. The evening's program is supposed to be simple, a private mixed demonstration arranged by a local promoter who has spent enough years moving between Hong Kong boxing circles and the city's martial arts communities to believe that bringing the two into the same room will produce something memorable. Not a tournament, not a formal challenge, a controlled exhibition, gloves, timing, observation, a chance for trainers, instructors, and invited students to watch high-level mechanics and talk about them afterward over tea or whiskey or cigarettes, depending on temperament. That is the official shape of the evening. The unofficial shape is different. The unofficial shape is appetite. 79 people have gathered because they have heard that Viktor Modanov, 34 years old, 6 feet 3 inches tall, 237 pounds, European heavyweight boxing title holder with 16 years of formal training and the specific international reputation of a man who has hit enough other men hard enough, often enough, that confidence no longer looks like emotion on him, but structure, is in Hong Kong for 3 days between exhibitions in Manila and Osaka. They have also heard that Bruce Lee may attend. The word may is enough, because Bruce Lee in 1970 is already more than a man to rooms like this. He is a field of conflicting reports, a visible body onto which every witness has attached some different version of the same conclusion. Too fast, too precise, too small to do what people say he does, too calm to be ordinary. A film fighter, a real fighter. a philosopher, a technician, a showman, a man who has understood timing at a level that embarrasses explanation. And tonight, until the hour turns and the rain stops and the room becomes something else, he is simply sitting in the fourth row, quietly, without remainder. Viktor Matonov arrives at 7:36 p.m., wearing a dark overcoat over training clothes and carrying the particular bearing of someone long accustomed to entering rooms where people already know his name. He is broad through the shoulders in the specific way of true heavyweights, not bodybuilder broadness, not vanity mass, but the compact, violent architecture built by road work, sparring rounds, bag drills, clinch pressure, and years of teaching the body to remain dangerous even when tired. His face is not handsome in the ordinary sense. The nose has gone twice. The left eyebrow carries a pale line of old damage. His mouth sits naturally in the faint, hard curve of a man who has spent too long being observed to bother with charm, unless it serves a purpose. The room respects him immediately. Not because he asks for respect, because men in fighting rooms can smell legitimacy the way other men smell rain. Viktor has boxed since he was 18. Amateur first, then professional, then enough international nights under enough lights that his self-belief has crossed the line from confidence into social fact. Trainers defer to him without thinking. Younger fighters go slightly quieter when he passes. Even the older instructors, men who have spent their lives in systems that do not measure themselves by Western boxing, watch him with the specific attention reserved for specialists who have been right in public too many times to be dismissed. He moves through the hall with the easy public authority of someone who expects to be the center of gravity wherever he stands, which is to say, he has been right too often, for too long. In the ring, during the first portion of the evening, he confirms everything the room expects of him. The jab is heavy not only in impact, but in intent. The footwork is economical, never decorative. His shoulders remain loose, his chin disciplined, his hips always under him. He demonstrates combinations on pads with the particular rhythm of a man who has no need to prove power because power arrives naturally in everything he does. The audience hears the leather slap and the deeper body sound underneath it. They smell sweat warming through cotton. They watch the trainer holding pads absorb each shot through his elbows and stance like a man bracing against weather. The room leans toward Viktor. That is the emotional truth of the first half of the evening. The crowd's confidence gathers around him because he gives them something visible to attach it to: size, history, mechanics, reputation. He performs certainty without seeming to perform. He is simply what he is, and in the fourth row, Bruce Lee sits and watches. At first glance, Bruce appears almost out of place in a room arranged around boxing. He is 30 years old, 5 feet 7 inches, around 140 pounds. He wears a dark jacket over a light shirt, dark trousers, no visible sign that he came expecting to do anything other than observe. He sits slightly angled rather than square, one forearm resting on one thigh, his expression carrying the specific stillness of someone whose attention is complete, but not advertised. Men glance at him, recognize him, then glance again because recognition does not solve the small problem of what he is doing there so quietly. He is not hidden. He is simply not demanding to be seen. That is different. On first observation, he appears unremarkable beside a heavyweight. Too light, too compact, too composed to trigger the visual assumptions rooms like this usually make about danger. But second observation changes him. It always does. The particular posture of someone carrying nothing unnecessary. The calm that is not social performance but internal arrangement. The absence of fidgeting. The way his breathing seems to belong to a smaller clock than everyone else's. The fact that, while others watch the demonstration, Bruce appears to be reading it, not reacting to what he sees, but measuring its exact relationship to distance, recovery, overcommitment, and rhythm. This makes some of the older men uneasy, not because he is theatrical, because he is not. He does not posture. He does not need a stance to feel dangerous. He is not trying to prove anything. He is, in the deepest sense, simply what he is. By 8:04 p.m., the room has divided without formally dividing. There are the people who came for Victor. There are the people who came because Bruce might be there. And there are a smaller number, the most serious ones, who now understand that the real event may not be what the program announced at all. That understanding moves through the room slowly. In comments too, quiet to become public. Is he staying? He hasn't left. He's watching the feet. Not the hands. No, the feet. The emotional temperature changes 1 degree at a time. Nothing theatrical. Just the specific tightening that happens when a room full of trained witnesses begins to suspect that two systems of confidence may be forced to occupy the same moment. The turning point begins almost accidentally. After another short round of bag work, Victor steps out of the ring, wipes his face with a towel, and takes a glass bottle of mineral water from the promoter. The conversation turns informal. Trainers ask about European fight camps. A younger boxer asks how to build confidence under pressure. Victor answers with the particular patience of men who enjoy explaining success because success has become part of their identity and repetition only hardens it. Then, one of the local instructors, encouraged by the looseness of the room and the visible presence of Bruce Lee 4 rows back, asks whether boxing remains the highest test of fighting composure. It is not quite a challenge, but it leans in that direction. Victor hears the shape beneath the question immediately. His mouth shifts into the smallest smile. He likes rooms when they begin to circle conflict without naming it. He has spent too many years in public victory not to recognize the smell of an opening. He says, "Composure is easy to talk about." He glances around the room. Real fighters don't talk much. Then, after the pause required to let that sentence settle and reveal who in the room it was meant for, he looks beyond the first 3 rows toward the 4th and says, not loudly, but with perfect carrying force, "Any real fighter here?" No one moves. Not at first. The words hang in the air with the specific density of things said publicly by men too accustomed to being answered in the affirmative by their own reputations. Some of the younger boxers smile because they think they understand how the moment should continue. A few martial arts instructors do not smile at all. The promoter lowers his bottle. The sound of rainwater dripping from somewhere outside the side door becomes briefly, absurdly clear. Bruce Lee remains seated for one more breath. Then he stands. No flourish. No visible irritation. No performance of decision. He stands the way some men stand from a chair and reveal, too late, that they were never resting in it to begin with. The jacket settles once against his sides. He buttons nothing. Adjusts nothing. He steps into the aisle with the same contained economy with which he entered the room, and begins walking toward the ring. The crowd notices him gradually, then all at once, which is to say, his presence arrives before his action does. He stops at ringside and looks up at Victor, who is still near the ropes, towel hanging from one hand, water bottle in the other. There is 7 feet between them. Then 6. Then Bruce steps through the ropes without hurry and stands in the opposite half of the ring. The canvas gives slightly beneath his shoes. The ropes creak once. Fabric shifts. 79 people who have spent their lives in martial arts and fighting know exactly what they are looking at, and for 4 full seconds none of them speak. Victor studies him with direct, professional attention. No mockery now. Only comparison. Only measurement. only the visible process of a large decorated man recalculating what it means when a smaller, quieter man accepts a public question without visible emotion. "You box?" Victor asks. Bruce shakes his head once. I move. A few in the room almost laugh, but the laughter never forms. The line lands too cleanly. Victor sets the water bottle down outside the ropes and hands off the towel. He steps closer. His confidence is still intact, still public, still grounded in every reason the room has already given him to trust it. He is heavier, louder, more decorated, more visibly dominant. The obvious favorite. That fact has not changed. But the emotional ownership of the room has begun to shift. Not entirely. Just enough. Victor lifts one glove and says, "Then show me." Bruce stands almost square, hands low, no need to arrange himself into something larger than he is. His face remains calm, not cold, his breathing shallow. His eyes fixed not on Victor's gloves, but on the place beneath the gloves where intent becomes motion. Distance closes by half a step, then stops. The silence between them grows specific. The particular silence of two men standing at the edge of a truth only one of them fully understands. Victor moves first. He has to. His confidence depends on initiation. His entire fighting identity is built on the particular certainty of a heavyweight who has learned that when he takes the center and claims the first meaningful action, lesser men spend the rest of the exchange recovering from it. The left hand comes out fast, not lazy, not demonstrative. A real jab from a real heavyweight, thrown with the practiced economy of 16 years. Shoulder turns. Lead foot whispers against canvas. Air parts around the glove with that dry, brief sound of speed made visible. Bruce is not there. Not in the place Victor threw to. He has moved half a line off-center, not backward, not dramatically, simply outside the conclusion of the punch by the exact amount the situation requires. The specific quality of the movement is what shocks the room. No panic, no haste, no visible exertion. He leaves the line without remainder. The jab extends through the space Bruce occupied a fraction earlier, and that small miss produces the first crack in certainty. Bruce's right hand rises, not as a swing, not as a block, as information. Two fingers and the heel of the hand travel in one clean, economical path to the inside of Victor's lead forearm near the elbow, while Bruce's left foot plants at a precise angle outside Victor's lead foot. The contact is light, absurdly light compared to the mass involved, but exactly placed. Victor's shoulder opens a degree too far. His weight, which was moving forward in ownership, continues forward in vulnerability. Bruce's left hand touches the upper chest. Again, not hard, specific. A pulse of force delivered at the exact instant Victor's balance belongs more to momentum than structure. Canvas shifts. Fabric snaps once. A breath leaves someone in the second row. Victor takes one involuntary step, then another smaller half-step designed to recover what the first lost. And in that recovery, Bruce is already gone from the place where exchange would normally continue. He has not overcommitted. He has not chased the moment. He has completed it. 10 seconds of real time would be too generous. It is over sooner than that. But the room experiences it as something slower because the mind, when certainty breaks publicly, begins recording in unusual detail. No applause. Not yet. First, the silence. It lands physically, in swallowed breath, in still shoulders, in mouths half open and not yet closed, in the lack of even a single chair scrape or cough or whispered explanation. 79 trained witnesses hold still, as if movement itself might be disrespectful to what they have just been shown. Victor stands upright, but something in his posture has lowered. Not his height, his certainty. Bruce is where he began again. Calm, economical, complete. 4 seconds. No one speaks, because the silence is the proof. When Victor finally turns his head fully toward Bruce, the change in him is subtle enough that only serious observers would register it. The chin is lower by less than an inch. The shoulders no longer expand into the room. The eyes have lost the public tone and gained the private one, the tone men wear when they stop performing confidence and begin meeting reality directly. He says quietly, "You weren't fast." A murmur almost begins, then dies. Bruce answers just as quietly, "No." Victor waits. Bruce says, "You were late." That reaches the room more deeply than any strike could have. Victor absorbs it. His gaze drops once to the canvas between them, then rises again. He nods once without resentment. The nod of a man who has been publicly right for too long and has just found the exact boundary of that fact. He extends a glove. Bruce takes it with his bare hand. No triumph, no lecture, no need. The crowd's confidence, which entered the evening attached almost entirely to one man, has now transferred somewhere else, not to louder dominance, but to the small, unreadable center of stillness that had been sitting in the 4th row all evening without asking to own the room. Outside on Caroline Hill Road, the Thursday evening continues its indifferent transit. Cars hiss over wet pavement. Neon loosens itself into puddles. The city does what cities do when private revelations occur inside ordinary buildings. They will never notice. Inside the hall, the air is still warm. The ropes still hold their tension. The canvas still smells faintly of old sweat and chalk. But the room is not the same room. Because 79 people have just watched appearance meet essence, and essence win without ever needing to raise its voice.